Welcome back to Newsfeed PM. Let's get into some business news now. Vacancy search platform PNet confirms it's been hard to land a job in the past 2 years in South Africa. PNet's job market trends report shows that recruitment activity has decreased by 17% compared to September of 2022. SA's leading online recruitment platform says that on a month-on-month basis, local hiring activity was down by 5% from August to September this year. The report showed that hiring improved in high-skilled jobs like engineering and architecture, health and manufacturing. To chat more about the job market is Paul Byrne, the head of data insights and customer success at PNet. Paul, it's an old-age story for South Africa. Jobs are really hard to come by in our economy, with the official unemployment rate at 32.9%. But what are the employers saying about the slow hiring activity in the country? Is it a matter of a slow economy, or they're not finding quite the skills they're looking for?
I think it is a slower economy that's actually driving. And the jobs are there. We're battling the market at the moment. There still is a lag effect, and I think a lot of companies are finding that there's not the spending power in South Africa that's actually getting consumer spending again, that's allowing companies to start the progression of their growth. And as a direct result of this, the numbers are down, as you say, which is disappointing, because everything in terms of the data is suggesting that they should be up. And immediately post-elections, which was a big marker for us during in May this year, we thought that we would see an uptick in the jobs economy. And indeed, in June, in actual fact, it was 1% up. July was another 8% up. But then August hit and we saw this 11% decline. And then, as you've just said right now, another 5% decline month on month in September.
Now, the job market trends report also shows that recruitment activity has slowed some 17% in the past 2 years. What economic factors are making it hard for job seekers? It seems we've hit a bit of a lull in the South African job market.
Yeah, very much so. I think, again, going back to what I've just said in terms of the indicators are there, that we would not have expected this lull. Specifically, if you think about it, the macro conditions that were affecting us, things like load shedding. We're 200 plus days now free of load shedding. Our interest rates have come down, albeit 0.25 of percentage point. And even business confidence and general sentiment is up. So, I think it's just a matter of time now in terms of feeling this lag. I'm expecting that. I'm hoping that over the couple of next months, we're actually going to see a turnaround in this, because it's obviously problematic in terms of what you mentioned around the general unemployment rate here in South Africa. What's interesting for us, too, is that what we've actually had a look at in this particular edition of our trends report is just to see if there's any correlation between the supply and demand and the change in salaries that we might have seen over the last 6 years. And specifically, this report looks at a comparison between the end of 2018 and what we're seeing now in 2014. The all-important conversation when someone is looking to change jobs or take on a different role is, what is that salary going to be? And what we know is that salaries are generally, as everyone would expect, driven by a mix of skills plus experience and the all-important supply and demand. And what we would have thought to see is that there would definitely be those roles that are diminishing in demand. And a great example of that we've suggested is a switchboard operator. And we would expect that salaries in that kind of field are starting to drop off quite rapidly. But on the contrary, we would expect to see in roles like data analysts and data scientists that we would start to see an increase in these salaries when we compare what's happened over that 6-year period. And what we've done is we've analyzed this, and we've actually come up with some interesting findings that suggest 3 very clear pools in terms of what's happening within the salary space here in South Africa. And that is those roles which are definitely seeing an increased salary. We are seeing roles where salaries have stayed pretty much stagnant since 2018. And we've even seen roles where there's been an absolute decline in those salaries. Now, put things in perspective, we would have thought that a general salary increase between 2018 and 2024, assuming someone would have been in a job back in 2018, is that we would have got some between a 25% to a 35% increase in salaries. those jobs that are showing lower, sort of negative salary growth in terms of what is on offer at the moment are surprisingly things like financial controllers, structural engineers, branch managers, and personal assistants. And collectively, they're showing between 11% and 25% less in terms of the salaries that are on offer at the moment compared to where we were in 2018. And for me, that is quite surprising, specifically when we look at the importance of the skill sets within finance and structural engineers in particular.
That would speak then to, I suppose, some of the budgets that these companies have, especially when we talk about infrastructure where a lot of capital has not come through. Now, when you look at some of the segments, is it a matter of there's no hiring in low-skilled jobs and there's much better hiring in higher-skilled jobs, or are we dealing with a job market that's suffering all across the board?
It's suffering all across the board. A great example of that is that if we just look in the IT space specifically, during COVID in particular, we saw this absolute surge in the demand for certain IT skills, and literally the world over could not find enough people. And yet over the last couple of years, although it's still a heavily in demand skill, we've seen it drop off significantly. And by significantly, I'm talking software developers are probably 39% in less demand, then the drop-off has been 39%. So it's significant when you're talking about that sort of that bracket of knowledge worker and skilled worker. And I think, again, there are macro conditions that are talking to this. Again, utilizing COVID, we expanded rapidly in terms of the demand for IT services in general as we all went remote. And as things have stabilized again, we've seen this decrease with a number of companies around the world laying off literally tens of thousands of developers. Again, I make the point they're still in demand, but just less so than they would have been 2-3 years ago.
And Paul, just before I let you go, in terms of those seeking jobs in South Africa, are they approaching you for posts outside of the country since our market is so strained?
We're definitely seeing that. It's par for the course. We are going to get that happening quite a lot. But what we've done in this month's report is we've actually looked at the main demand for some of those international jobs that companies are looking for, what type of skills they're looking for. And it's specifically business and management. It's the finance skills, funny enough, IT skills and sales skills. In that order, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the interesting bit is that business and management roles are 28% up year on year in terms of that international demand. And when we're looking at finance roles, they are up generally 38% in terms of year on year demand. So quite significant changes in terms of what international companies are then coming back into South Africa to look for.
Thank you for those insights, Paul Byrne, the head of data insights and customer success at PNet.